Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we have a stack of documents on the table that, quite frankly, kept me up all night. Usually when we dig into a topic, it's about something abstract, maybe historical, but this feels different. It feels like looking at the blueprints of a weapon that is, currently pointed at all of us.
It is certainly one of the most unsettling case studies we've ever covered. It completely blurs the line between what we think of as computer science and what is effectively modern warfare.
We are talking about the Sam Wilson case.
Mhm.
And if you're listening to this, you almost certainly remember where you were during the Telecomerica disaster, that Friday morning when the world just stopped.
The day the screens went black.
Exactly. I remember waking up, I grabbed my phone to check the news,
Yeah.
and just got that spinning wheel of death. Nothing. No email, no text, nothing.
Yeah.
Went to the ATM to get some cash because the card reader at the coffee shop wasn't working, and the ATM was just a brick in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It honestly felt apocalyptic.
And that feeling of apocalypse, that wasn't accidental. It was the result of a very specific, a very sophisticated chain of events triggered by a 17-year-old boy. And the irony is, all he wanted was a faster graphics card for his computer.
That is the part that just blows my mind. We are going to dive into all of it. The cyber defense division, the neuro-hacking, the day a commercial airliner was literally weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to start with the context. Because when the internet went down that Friday, people didn't think technical glitch. They thought World War III.
You have to look at the psychological state of the country at that time. We call it the post-Vegas world for a very good reason.
Right. And I feel like we get numb to that term sometimes. We hear post-Vegas and we just think, oh, high security imports, that sort of thing. But let's ground this for a second. We are talking about the aftermath of the nuclear destruction of Las Vegas, an American city.
It is the defining trauma of the era. An American city, a cultural icon, completely vaporized by a nuclear device. The radiation, the death toll, the sheer violation of that idea that it can't happen here. That trauma fundamentally rewired the national nervous system. The Department of Homeland Security isn't just a bureaucracy anymore. It's a nervous system on constant high alert.
So everyone is on edge. Paranoia is just the baseline.
Exactly. Every single glitch is suspected sabotage. Every power outage is seen as a potential prelude to a second strike. So when Telecomerica goes dark, and remember, Telecomerica isn't just some phone company. They are the very backbone of the U.S. data infrastructure. So when they go down, the immediate assumption in Washington wasn't that a router failed. The assumption was that a foreign state actor or a massive terrorist cell had launched a decapitation strike against U.S. communications.
They thought it was the silence before the next bomb.
Precisely. And while the generals were scrambling jets and the president was being rushed to a bunker, the reality was just so much stranger. It wasn't a foreign army. It was Sam Wilson sitting in a coffee shop trying to hack the system to steal a computer.
It sounds almost funny when you put it that way, but the level of damage he caused was, it was catastrophic. I really want to break down how he did this, because in the movies, hacking is always just some guy typing furiously and then shouting, "I'm in!" But the dossier we have here, it describes something much more, physical.
It's a masterclass in what we call lateral thinking. Sam Wilson didn't attack the fortress from the front gate. You can't. Telecomerica has military-grade firewalls. If you try to hit them from your bedroom in Ohio, they're automated defenses, these things they call spiders. They'll just eat you alive and you'll be done in seconds.
So he decides to get close, physically close.
He goes to a coffee shop on Thomas Street in Manhattan. It's right next door to the Telecomerica data center.
Okay, so he's sipping a chai latte next to the building. But how does that actually help? The building is still a fortress.
Well, think about sound. If you're standing outside a nightclub, you can hear the bass thumping through the walls, right? Walls block light, but they don't block low-frequency sound waves very effectively. Radio waves' Wi-Fi signals are kind of similar. They bleed. Sam realized that while the external internet connection was locked down tighter than Fort Knox, the internal wireless networks,
The ones employees use?
yeah, for their iPads and laptops in conference rooms, those signals don't just stop at the brickwork, they leak out.
So he's catching the signal that's literally leaking out onto the sidewalk.
He uses something called a parabolic aerial. Think of it like a highly directional hearing aid for a computer. He points it at the wall, it amplifies that bleeding signal, and suddenly he's not coming in from the internet anymore. He's coming in as if he's sitting inside the conference room. He completely bypassed the moat and the drawbridge just by finding a tiny crack in the wall.
That is terrifyingly simple. But okay, he's connected. He still has to deal with their internal security software, right? He can't just start browsing their files.
No, absolutely not. And this is where his coding genius really comes in. He built a program he called Gilly.
Gilly. Like the suits snipers wear, the ones that look like a pile of leaves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the perfect analogy. See, standard viruses have a signature. They look like executable code. They have headers and footers that a security program can scan. It's like a person walking through a forest. A security program can see the person.
It stands out against the background noise.
Right. But Gilly was designed to look like digital garbage, like random noise, corrupted fragments of data. In a massive network like Telecom America, there was always a bit of static, packets that got dropped, little errors here and there. The security spiders are programmed to ignore that static because it's harmless.
So his code is hiding in the trash.
It doesn't just hide in the trash, it looks like trash. It sits there in the router memory, mimicking random noise, but it's actually active. The dossier says it's sniffing the data packets flying by.
Can we pause on sniffing for a second? I hear that term a lot. What is he actually seeing? Is he reading people's emails in real time?
It's a good question. Imagine a gigantic conveyor belt carrying millions of sealed envelopes. Sniffing is like standing next to that belt and just reading the addresses on the outside of the envelopes without ever opening them. You see where the data is coming from, where it's going, and what type of data it is. By analyzing that traffic, Sam could map out the entire network structure without ever sending a single signal that would trip an alarm. He found the administrator credentials just by watching them pass by.
So he grants himself sysadmin status, which is basically God mode for the network. He orders his high-end computer, ships it to his house, mission accomplished, but then things go wrong.
He gets greedy, or maybe just a little careless. He triggers a small alert. The real system administrators see a rogue user account. They lock the doors. Guards start running toward the coffee shop. This is the moment where 99% of hackers would just pull the plug and run.
But Sam doesn't.
No. He realizes that if he disconnects now, the logs, the digital footprint of everything he did are still on the server. They'll trace the shipping address. They will catch him. He needs to destroy the evidence. But he can't just hit delete because the admins are actively watching the screen now.
So he needs to create a diversion.
A massive one. He detonates what the files call a data bomb inside the main transaction database. Essentially, he tells the database to just scramble itself, take all the numbers, all the names, and just mix them up into gibberish.
Chaos.
Absolute chaos. And while the entire IT team is screaming because their main database is literally melting in front of their eyes, he releases 2 viruses he had in his back pocket, the Russian Black Flu and the Kamikaze. These are aggressive, destructive programs. They start eating files, crashing servers, spreading to connected networks.
He's burning the whole building down to hide the fact that he stole a candy bar?
In a digital sense, yes. But here's the stroke of pure evil genius that caused the national blackout. Sam knew Telecom America had backups. He knew that if he destroyed the live database, they would just go to their backup servers in London and restore the data from yesterday.
Which is standard procedure, right? You wipe my computer, I restore from the cloud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Sam anticipated that. Before he detonated the bomb, he had already hacked the backup servers in London. He modified the backup files to include his viruses and his scrambled data.
Oh, no.
And, this is the key, he reset the timestamps on those files. He made his infected, corrupted backups look like the clean, original backups from the day before.
So when the IT guys, in a total panic, hit the big red restore button...
They were the ones who executed the final stage of the attack. They pulled the virus out of the vault themselves and injected it directly into the heart of the system. It's a Trojan horse. But the victims built the horse themselves.
And that's what caused the blackout. That's what took everything down.
The system restored the Black Flu virus, which then propagated instantly. It was designed to spread. It jumped from Telecom America to the banks, to the power grid management systems, to the cell towers. That's why you couldn't get cash. It's why the stock market froze. The deeply interconnected nature of our infrastructure meant that one single infection at the hub killed all the spokes.
The 3 days of darkness.
Society teetered on the brink of collapse. I mean, no food deliveries, no communications, mass panic buying, all because Sam wanted to cover his tracks.
But inevitably, the Department of Homeland Security catches up. You can't really hide a physical delivery of computer to your house.
No, you can't. Agent Tyler, the dossier, describes him as a classic G-man, mirror shades, black suit, shows up at Sam's apartment. Sam thinks his life is over. He thinks he's going to a black site, never to be seen again.
But he doesn't go to Gitmo. He goes to a place called Recton.
Recton Hall.
Which, I mean, it sounds like a fancy boarding school, but the dossier describes it as a white-collar juvie.
It's a very specific, very modern type of prison. In this world, if you catch a 14-year-old genius who can hack the Pentagon, you don't put him in a cell with a murderer. That's a waste of a resource. You put him in a facility where you can monitor his potential. Recton is full of teenage cybercriminals, spies, industrial espionage agents, kids who are too smart and too dangerous for the normal system.
And this is where the story shifts from a disaster movie to a prison break movie. Sam meets a kid nicknamed Kiwi.
Jace handled Kiwi. He's from New Zealand or Australia. The dossier is a bit fuzzy on which accent he leans into more, but he's a really critical character. He tells Sam he's in for armed robbery.
Which Sam doesn't believe for a second, because Kiwi looks like he weighs about 100 pounds soaking wet.
Until Kiwi clarifies. He robbed a bank with a computer. And right there, they have a connection. He's a kindred spirit. And he helps Sam navigate the internal politics of Recton. But Sam has no intention of staying. He starts looking for a way out, and he spots a vulnerability in the prison's computer system.
Now, wait a minute. This is a prison built for hackers? Surely the computers are completely locked down.
Oh, they are. No internet, no command prompt, no ability to run executable files. All the inmates have access to is Microsoft Office.
So how do you break out of a maximum security prison with Excel?
It's brilliant in its sheer boredom. Sam realizes that even a spreadsheet has a processor limit. He writes a macro. It's a little automated script inside Excel that creates an infinite loop. It just calculates 1 + 1 = 2, then 2 + 1 = 3, on and on forever.
Okay, so just simple math.
Simple, but he opens thousands of these sheets simultaneously. He forces the computer's entire brain to focus on this one useless, endless math problem. The processor overheats, the memory overflows, and the whole system crashes.
The blue screen of death.
Exactly. And here's the trick. When the computer reboots, for a split second, just one single second before all the security software loads, there is a gap, a window. Sam times it perfectly. He forces the computer to boot into safe mode.
Which disables all the security restrictions.
And now he is the administrator. He gets into the building management system. He doesn't just unlock the doors directly. That would be too obvious and would trigger an immediate alarm. Instead, he schedules a fire drill.
A fake fire drill.
He hacks the sensors, tricks the system into thinking the building's on fire, what happens during a fire alarm. All the magnetic locks on the doors disengage automatically for safety.
And he just walks out.
Well, he attempts to. He gets all the way to the Sally Port, the final gate, and runs right into the warden, a man named Brewer. And Brewer has a gun pointed right at Sam's chest.
This scene in the dossier is incredibly tense. You have this kid with a backpack versus a warden with a license to kill. It feels like the end of the line.
And Sam pulls the ultimate bluff. He points to the security cameras, which he knows are just recording locally to a hard drive in a closet, and he lies. He says, I hacked the feed. Those cameras are broadcasting live to CNN and the BBC. Millions of people are watching you right now. Do you really want to shoot an unarmed teenager on live global television?
That takes some serious guts.
It plays on the warden's deepest fear, not of Sam, but of the media, of the public eye, of a congressional hearing. Brewer hesitates, just for a second, and that's all Sam needs. He bolts. He slips through the gate and jumps onto the back of a fire truck that was, of course, responding to his own fake alarm.
It's a perfect escape. He gets away, he hails a taxi, and then the other shoe drops.
The driver turns around, and it's a man with a biohazard tattoo on his forehead. We come to know him as Dodge, or Skullface.
And he's not a taxi driver.
No, he's a recruiter. The whole thing, the arrest, the placement in Recton, the specific vulnerabilities in the computer system, the opportunity to escape, it was all a test.
An audition.
Exactly. If Sam had just sat in a cell and cried, he would have served his time and been forgotten. But by breaking out, by showing that incredible ingenuity under pressure, he proved he was CDD material.
Which brings us to the absolute core of this deep dive, the Cyber Defense Division, the CDD.
The hidden shield of the United States. The digital ghost in the machine.
What strikes me from the dossier is how mundane the headquarters is described. It's not in some bunker under the Rocky Mountains. It's in Silicon Valley, right next to the Adobe Towers and the HP Pavilion. It's just an office building.
Hiding in plain sight. It's a smart strategy. If you build a secret underground bunker, people ask what's in the bunker. If you build a generic office building with mirrored glass, nobody looks twice. But inside, it's a completely different world.
And the people inside are Well, they're an eclectic bunch.
They are the best of the best, and the CDD does not care about your nationality. They only care about your skill. Dodge is British. Kiwi, the kid from Recton, he's there.
Yeah.
There's a guy they call Gummy Bear from Zimbabwe. It's a global team of digital mercenaries, essentially, but they happen to work for the good guys.
And they are paid incredibly well. The dossier mentions salaries that would make a Wall Street CEO blush.
And that's not just a perk, it's a security strategy. If you hold the keys to the nation's entire digital infrastructure, you are a prime target for bribery. If a foreign power offers you $10 million to open a back door, the CDD needs to ensure you can look at that offer and say, no thank you, I already made that much last year. It buys loyalty. It neutralizes greed.
But the money isn't even the main draw for someone like Sam. It's the technology. And this is where we get into the mind over firewall concept, the neuro-headsets.
This is the science fiction leap. Up until this point, Sam has been a keyboarder. He types. He's the fastest typist in the world, but he's still limited by his fingers. The CDD uses neuro-technology. These headsets, they read the beta waves of the brain, the electrical signals of thought, and translate them directly into code.
I want to try and understand the sensation of this. The dossier has Sam describing it as flying. How does that work?
Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. At first, you have to consciously think about your legs, your balance, your hands on the handlebars. It's a manual process. But eventually, you just think, turn left, and your body does it instinctively. The headset works like that, but for data. Sam trains with an AI tutor named Ursula. At first, it's clumsy. He has to consciously form the thought, open file. But soon, he stops thinking the words. He just intends for the file to open, and it does.
There's a description in the file where he looks at a raw stream of binary code, just ones and zeros, and the headset translates it for his brain into a visual image, the Mona Lisa.
It's data visualization taken to its logical extreme. The human brain processes images thousands of times faster than it processes text. So instead of reading lines of security logs, the headset converts the network traffic into a landscape, or a painting, or a 3D structure. Sam can literally fly through the data like a bird. He can spot a virus because it looks like a smudge on the painting or a crack in the structure.
It sounds incredible. So much more efficient, more intuitive. But Dodge, who seems to be the resident voice of paranoia in this story, he hates them.
Dodge is a purist. He's old school. And he raises a valid and frankly terrifying point that I think we all need to consider very carefully. He says, if you plug your brain into the internet, you are making your brain just another node on the network.
And if it's on the network, it can be hacked.
He calls it brain intrusion. And to prove his point, he takes Sam to a hockey game. There's a guy sitting a few rows in front of them, texting his mistress on his phone. Dodge, just using his own phone, hacks the guy's phone and puts the entire text conversation up on the stadium scoreboard for thousands of people to see.
Humiliating. And probably the end of a marriage.
But the lesson is what's truly terrifying. Dodge says to Sam, that guy thought his phone was private. You think your thoughts are private. If you wear that headset, your mind is just another hard drive that can be cracked.
And that ethical debate, that tension between security versus privacy, speed versus safety, it stops being theoretical very, very quickly. Because we move right into segment 4, the attack on America.
And it starts with a diversion, a classic misdirection. The CDD picks up a signal at Peach Bottom.
The nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania.
Right. And given the post-Vegas anxiety, a cyber attack on a nuclear plant is the absolute nightmare scenario. So the CDD focuses all of their attention there. They find a breach. Someone is stealing data.
But Sam, with his new way of seeing data, he notices something odd about it.
It's garbage. It's useless. It's reactor statistics from the 1970s. It's stuff you could find on Wikipedia.
So why steal it? What's the point?
The Dodge has a great line for it. He calls it chucking stones at a wasp's nest. The attackers didn't want the data. They wanted to see how fast the wasp came out of the hive. They were testing the CDD's reaction time. And while the entire CDD team was looking at Pennsylvania,
the real attack started, and it didn't come from the outside.
No. A trapdoor opened in the CDD's own firewall.
Yeah.
Someone had planted a vulnerability deep in the firmware. That's the permanent software of the system itself. This implies an insider, a mole.
The visualization of this battle in the dossier is just intense. The CDD interface shows the attack as sidewinders, missiles that are deleting entire sectors of code and frag grenades that shatter data structures. But the enemy is different.
Sam and Dodge are the best keyboarders in the world. They can type faster than anyone, but they can't keep up. The enemy code is shape-shifting. Every time they try to write a patch to quarantine a virus, the virus changes its signature instantly. It moves faster than human fingers can possibly type.
And that's the aha moment for Sam.
He realizes that they aren't typing, the attackers are using neuro-headsets.
So it's a gunfight, but the CDD has brought muskets and the terrorists have brought fully automatic machine guns.
That's a perfect way to put it. The CDD is fighting at the speed of fingers. The terrorists are fighting at the speed of thought. And the CDD gets completely overrun. The building goes into lockdown. The electronic doors jam shut. They are trapped in their own glass tower.
And then the terrorists escalate. They don't just want to shut down the CDD, they want to eliminate it physically. They take control of a plane.
Southwest Flight 3567, a brand new Boeing 787.
Now, we need to explain how this is even possible. I mean, how do you hack a plane from the ground and fly it like a drone?
It goes back to a security measure put in place after 9/11. The government mandated the installation of the UAS, the uninterruptible autopilot system. The idea was a noble one. If terrorists ever hijack the cockpit again, ground control can press a button, lock the pilots out of the controls, and fly the plane remotely to a safe landing.
So it's a safety feature, an anti-hijacking system.
But any door you build for the good guys can eventually be picked by the bad guys. The hackers found a way in, they cracked the UAS codes, they locked the pilots out, and they turned that 787 to a guided missile.
Targeted directly at the CDD headquarters in San Jose.
It's a brutally efficient, dual-purpose attack. First, you destroy the only agency on Earth that can stop your main digital assault. And second, you kill the mole. The terrorists know there is someone inside the CDD who helped them get in, but loose ends are dangerous. If they vaporize the entire building, their witness is gone for good.
So the CDD team is trapped. They are watching this plane on the radar getting closer and closer. They can't fight the terrorists in cyberspace because the neural connection is just too fast. So what do?
They realize they can't win the speed war, so they decide to fight a dirty war instead. They launch a denial-of-service attack at DDoS, not on the terrorists, but on the plane itself.
They attack the victim.
They have to. They just spam the plane's router with millions of junk data requests. They try to clog the digital pipe so that the control signal from the terrorists can't get through cleanly. They're trying to create lag.
It's like when you're playing a video game and your character starts stuttering across the screen.
Exactly. They hope that if they can make the terrorists' control signal stutter even for a second, the pilot might be able to find a window to override it. But it's not enough. The signal is too strong, too clean. The plane keeps coming.
And this leads to my favorite moment in the entire dossier. The amazing contrast between this high-tech cyber warfare and just low-tech brute force. The story cuts to Los Angeles, to the air traffic control center where the UAS servers are physically housed.
And we meet Victoria Dean, an air traffic controller. She's watching the plane dive. She knows the malicious code is coming from the server room down the hall, so she runs there. The door is locked electronically.
And she doesn't try to hack the keypad.
She grabs a fire extinguisher from the wall and just smashes the door down. She runs into the room and physically yanks the power cables out of the back of the servers.
I love that. In the end, the solution wasn't some brilliant line of code. It was a fire extinguisher and a woman who wouldn't give up.
It really emphasizes the ultimate fragility of the digital world. You can have the most sophisticated software in human history, but if someone pulls the plug, it's just game over.
The power cuts. The pilot regains control just in time. The dossier says the plane screams over the roof of the CDD building so close they could see the rivets and pulls up. They survive.
Physically, they survive. But digitally, their system is still being eaten alive. The intruder code is inside their network and it's destroying everything.
And just when it looks like the CDD is going to lose their entire database, their entire history, something weird happens.
A phantom.
One of the team members, a guy they call Socks, describes it as a big black nothing.
It's a complete anomaly. A piece of code appears out of nowhere. It doesn't look like the terrorist code and it doesn't look like CDD code. It's described almost like a digital black hole. It just latches onto the terrorist virus and eats it. It deconstructs it, shreds it into nothing, and then poof, it vanishes.
What was it?
That is the enduring mystery of the entire case. The dossier offers a few theories. Is it some secret government superweapon that Jagger, the director, kept hidden from his own team? Is it a rogue artificial intelligence that just lives in the net and decided to intervene?
Or is it a person, a coding freak like the one they call Swamp Witch, the congressional oversight lady working in secret from the outside?
We just don't know. But it left a breadcrumb trail. A single, tiny digital thread leading to an apartment in Chicago.
So the team suits up for a raid, and this raid is It's strange. Sam and Dodge don't go to Chicago physically. They participate remotely.
They use what the file calls tactical neuro-headsets. This is where the military application of this tech becomes crystal clear. The SWAT team in Chicago enters the building, and Sam and Dodge, sitting in their chairs in California, are plugged directly into the soldiers' sensory feeds.
They see what the soldiers see.
Everything. The green tint of night vision, the sway of the weapon as the point man moves. They can even feel the soldier's heartbeat in their chest. They are riding along inside the soldiers' heads. It's described as incredibly visceral.
But when they finally breach the apartment...
It's a clean house. The terrorists are there. 2 of them, but they're unconscious, neutralized. Someone got there first.
And the computers?
Wiped. Completely wiped. Factory reset. Not a single byte of data left on them.
Which confirms the mole theory?
Someone inside the CDD knew they were tracking that signal. Someone warned the terrorists, or more likely silenced them to prevent them from ever talking. And they wiped the evidence to protect the identity of the insider.
And that paranoia is how the dossier ends. It's not a victory. Sam is looking around the room at the CDD. He's looking at his boss, Jaggard. He's looking at Swamp Witch. He's even looking at his friends, Kiwi and Dodge.
The trust is completely gone. They save the country, but in the process, they realize the enemy is sitting in the chair right next to them.
It's a chilling note to end on. So let's zoom out here for a minute. We've covered a lot of ground, from a coffee shop hack to full-blown neuro-warfare. What is the big takeaway here? What should we really be thinking about after reading this?
I think the first major takeaway is the death of the air gap. For decades, we've clung to this idea that if a system is really crucial, like a nuclear plant or the UAS server, we can keep it safe by just disconnecting it from the public internet.
But Sam proved that's a fantasy.
The coffee shop hack proved that physical proximity can bridge any gap. The UAS hack proved that the safety features we build can become the backdoors our enemies use. As long as human beings have to interact with these systems, there is no such thing as a truly closed loop. We are always vulnerable.
And the second takeaway, it has to be the neurotech.
It's the evolution of warfare itself. We spent thousands of years fighting with our bodies with swords and fists. Then we spent a few centuries fighting with machines, guns, tanks, planes. Now we are entering the era of neural warfare.
The mind itself as the weapon.
The terrorists, in this case, almost won because they removed the physical interface. They didn't type their attack. They thought their attack into reality. And if that is the future, if raw speed is the only metric that matters anymore, then the keyboard is obsolete. We will all have to plug in just to compete, just to defend ourselves.
But that brings us full circle right back to Dodge's warning at the hockey game.
Exactly. If we all have to plug in to survive, we are all opening the door. We saw the China syndrome affect the digital meltdown of society's infrastructure. But you can recover from that. You can rebuild servers. But imagine if that meltdown happened inside your head.
There's a line at the very end of the dossier. Dodge admitted he's only ever met 2 freaks of nature in coding. One is Swamp Witch. The other is Sam Wilson. Sam is special. He might be able to handle this. But for the rest of us, are we ready to make our own minds a public battleground?
I don't think we are. But looking at this dossier, reading about this technology, I don't think we have a choice. The technology's here. The Pandora's box is already open.
A terrifying thought to leave you with. Until the next deep dive, keep your firewalls up, watch your backups, and for the love of God, keep your thoughts to yourself. Thanks for listening.